Hello, welcome to my channel. Today I would like to show you like new hand tutorials. This is related with like for what applications development, but this is a very special part and backend development. And backend developments that I will show you how we develop the backend framework using Node.js, Express, and the database that is MySQL. So in this video I will show you very ground step by step until to complete the backend settings. Everything is okay. So I will start how we create a folder, how we start our Node.js servers. I hope this tutorial, hand-on tutorial, will help for the beginners of web applications development. This is part of web applications development, backend development. Okay, and database also. Let's start. So anyway, okay, firstly we need to select our Node.js backend server. So for this actually to select our Node.js server, before we need to install Node in your computer, Node and npm package, right? These installations I have already explained in my previous video, and you can look back what is the requirements to build this Node.js server. So you need to install Node and npm package in your computer before you start it. So in this video I hope you already install, and we can select our projects first. So we will create a folder, right, in our D. Okay, I will try and start from here. Go to your computer and anything you can build at your folder, right? I will try to build in our personal computer. Yeah, folder, and I will create the folder name like in this video, my backend folder. Let's see where is crash. Rename. Okay, I already create a folder, right? Please open this folder and nothing up. Okay, in this folder we will create our backend project file, right? Everything that we have to do is here. So okay, right click and open in terminal. Firstly we have to initialize the node and npm, so we will use the command line tool. It's very easy to set us the project. Okay, open in terminal and okay, here this direct D, my backend. This is our folder, right? So in this folder we will select our backend projects. Okay, what is next command? Go to that folder and you open, right? So we will create a folder. This one, backend folder. We will create a folder. So please run this command. Okay, you have a folder, backend folder. Enter this, and also under this backend we will initialize our npm for our Node.js server. So you go to this backend, right? And cd backend. Backend. Okay, in the backend folder we will initialize our Node.js npm init one. This is initialize, very first in this initializations to build the Node.js backend projects. Okay, here when you initialize, you will have a package.json file already select name, versions, and script. Okay, I think the installation is just, you can stop here. CMD is enough, and then we will, because we will use the Visual Studio Code for the later settings, code setter. Okay, just minimize. And we open Studio. Do you have Studio Code already, right? Yeah, okay, this is my previous project. I will open that folder in Studio Code. New, and our folder name is my backend development. Open this folder. Let's see what is in the folder that we just installed. We just initialize. Here, you can see our my backend folder, and we have backend folder and then package.json because we already initialized npm, so we can see package.json file, nothing else, right? Okay, what is next? This one already settles your Node.js, and the second one, another one, we need to install require package backend packages. In this tutorial, we will use Express, servers, and MySQL database, and this is CORS, and this is env to store the credentials. So we will install this package, require packages. We can use this command. We can run in now with your Studio Code, right? We don't need to go to command line anymore. And you open the terminal, right? Oh, wait. Okay, here you can see my backend dev, and then we will install this command npm install express mysql CORS dot 1 2 3 4 packages. Enter. Okay, and think 81 packages in 90 seconds. But don't worry, if we do not have the installation, is something wrong, we can reinstall later when we run the code. Yeah, okay, this is done. And after that, also we will create the necessary files and folder in our backend project folder, right? Before we write, we write any code. We will create a server.js file and .env file in our backend folder. Okay, we will create server.js. This is our backend server, right? You can give any other name, but I prefer to give server.js. This is our backend server code. And then also we will create .env file, right? We will store the other URL, port URL, or other credential .env. Okay, so we created files under the backend folder, right? And also we will create a necessary for us for database and routes, the backend route. So we will create two folders, db folder and routes folder. Okay, start create a folder, db folder, and also we will create a new folder, routes. This is the routes to call API routes, and we will write codes for API here. And this db folder, we will create database credential later. Okay, so we finish. We create file and folder under the backend. So after that, firstly, we will put the database connection, right? Because we will develop our server with database backend. So MySQL connection, we need to put the connection credentials, like I already explained in the previous video. And so to store this database credential, like username, password of your database, MySQL. So we will create the JS file, like the name. We can put under the db. We will create like connection conn.js. In this JS file, we will store the database credential, right? Okay, let me copy this code. This is to connect our MySQL database. So in our DB folder, we will store this database connection here, MySQL package. And this is the connection parameter localhost root, and you can put your database password and your database name, right? Okay, and then after we put DB connection JS, and then what is next? So we will write our server code. This is Express server. So we already created server.js file, and this one is the server status. The code to start server. So we already have the server under the backend server. Okay, just copy this here. We use Express and CORS. This one env file, and this is we said we will use after use Express and call. This sentence, this one called the routes. Route is API routes. That API will connect to the database, right? Later we will store the data to the database. We will get the data from the database. So for these routes, we will write code routes for us, and this is the API name and API routes. If we have big project, we have many routes like registration routes, route for login, route for data queries. So in this server we call this route and API. This is the API endpoint, right? And then route for this one set our server will run on port 3000. Listen port. Okay, this is to call the other routes, other API routes. Okay, so we need to set up this route, right? When we run this server call to this route. This route will do like basic operations API to connect the database. Okay, so next we need to create this route, right? Like for example, I will show you one API route. The API call to the database MySQL. Okay, so we will create sample.js file and our routes. This JS file is like API, get API to get the data from the database. So we will, and our route, we will create one route sample.js file. In this file, we will write a one API. The API will call to the database. And we want to get the data from the database, right? Okay. So here I will copy these codes, and this is the one of the API route. Yeah. In this route, sample.js route, you have to declare express router and DB. DB is our database. Database is our database connections located. DB and connection.js. Make sure your route is here, right? Correct. And this is the API router.get method, because we want to get the data from our database, and then we use get method, and this is the route name route API, and this is your query. This is our database query. We want to get the data from our database. So db is here, right? db.query. We use this statement. Select star from your table name. Okay, for this tutorials, I have one database and table that is related to my previous video, and I show you how we create the tracking database, right? And we created. So let me show you this database I already have. This is related with previous my video tutorial, and you can do it the same. I have one database DH and tracking, because I show you how we enter the data in the database and how we get the data back using Vue.js and Node.js. Okay, so I already have a database, and once it's in the table, database name is DH and tracking, and I have a table tracking logs, and tracking logs table I have tracking number, status, location, update, and create. So I think I have one data in this some data in this database and table. Okay, I will use this data, right? This is my SQL workbench. Okay, we have to connect this data, so I will use this table. We will use this credential in our code, and you can put your table name here, right? Because we want to select stuff from tracking logs. We will look for the data from this database, and here because this one, if the data is from the combat rest.json result, the result is here, so this result is sent to the front end. Now in this tutorial we have not started the front end yet, so I would like to check the result is okay or not, and the results are getting back from the database before we set up the front end. Okay, we can check and confirm the result is okay or not, so we can output the backend result console.log. We don't need to build everything now. Yeah, we can validate every of the step by step for our application. So here I want to check, okay, the data is the server is okay or not, the server go to the APIs, go to the database or not, or the API route is working or not, the server and API connect or not. We can validate by using output statement. So we use console.log. For example, I want to check database data from database. The okay, and I want to print out results, right? If our backend server is okay, we will get this result back. Okay, let's see result. Now we will upload this result. If everything is okay, the results will appear in this terminal. And later we will select front end. Okay, this is backend part. I will print out the results. Okay, let's put my required database connection. Don't forget to put your password, right? Otherwise, your server will not connect to the database. Here my password is. Let me put my example passwords. My database is here. You can, if you don't know our database name here. This is the database, DHL Turkey. You just update your database, right? This is my database and my passwords. Okay, that's fine there. After you put this credential, okay, this one finish, and this is one API. I want to get the data from tracking logs, and we will upload the results in the console window. Okay, and how about the server file is also API. So this one called this API, right? Sample.js file. This JS file go to database. Okay, how we connect server call this routes sample. Okay, you understand, right? And connect to this file. If you have multiple routes, you will call after use another route here, right? And this is the main server, and this server call to another route, and you can have many routes like registration, login. So you just write API in your own route and you call from this server, right? Okay, this is how server call an API routes. And then after we select this file, so we will put our port number in env file, right? So in env we can store like URL. For example, if you deploy this backend server like Firebase or other platform, you will have the URL. So you just store your URL, deploy URL here, and this is like your backend URL after you deploy this. Because in this app we will use localhost port 3000 here. Our server process is app.listen, and we will use localhost, right? That's why we store our port is 3000. Okay, after you finish this, Okay, everything is already, I think this is the basis and best settings for the whole backend. Later you can extend your project like another operations, and many things can do like login to database and registrations. Okay, so now we can run our server for after these settings. Okay, how we run? Let's try. We go to our backend folder, right? Because everything is in backend folder. So go to this folder first. If you have not go to your cd backend. Okay, when you are in the backend, you run this server.js, right? This is main server file. If you want to run, remember you have to use node command, and then your server file part, your server is under backend and server. So we already backend, so you just type server.js. Okay, this is running our backend server. Yay, my SQL connected servers running on port 3000. That's me. Our server is running, okay? So he is calling to the database and wait to get the data back. You can see this one where this output came from here. My SQL connected, so the database connection is okay. And this one database connection and server is running port 3000.